Hello and welcome to Split Screen, brought to you by Insert Coin.
Hello and welcome to Split Screen, brought to you by Insert Coin. My name's Dan Long and I'm here to introduce you to some of the amazing people from the world of video games, all the people who love games as much as you do. Today I've got Rahul Kohli. Rahul is an actor who's perhaps best known for his roles in Midnight Mass and Fall of the House of Usher, and has also voiced numerous video game characters as well, and has a fierce reputation for loving all things geeky. Rahul, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dan. How you doing?
It's an absolute pleasure. Honestly, I'm a huge fan of your work across all of the different media that you cover, and you're amazing, and you're amazing on the old socials as well, and keep me thoroughly entertained all the time. You should charge for that bit alone. That's like, you could easily charge for your Instagram entertainment.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
You've played loads of roles across film, TV shows, and video games. Like I say, what's the sort of different challenges do they offer? As like are there different ways that you have to approach them? You sort of think of them around them in different ways? You start from different points.
Yeah, absolutely. They do differ vastly, and you sort of have to learn on the fly and make adjustments as you kind of figure out, because there's no real sort of school for it. When I went to drama school, I just learned stage, right? I just learned to like get by on theatre. We really didn't cover screen, and that's ultimately where I wanted to be, was TV and film. Obviously, I would, video games and all that stuff, I was a hopeful wish in the distance. But then once I'd graduated, I got my first student short film. That's where I learned screen, and I was like, oh, okay, this is different. I have to make adjustments and figure it out. That took a while, and then going from being on commercials in the UK and a scene in EastEnders and things was vastly different to when I booked iZombie, and then it was how do you make a proper network series, every day, one episode a week, and maintain that. And that had its own kind of like playing the same character for 5 years and plotting trajectories and arcs, and that again, it's all on the fly. And then in between that, Rod Ferguson had cast me after an audition for Gears, which kind of kicked off the game stuff for me. So I was in the middle of filming iZombie, like season 2 or 3, and I was doing Gears of War 5 or Gears 5, and I'd never really done VO. So again, I'm like, and it's like it was a very kind of like baptism under fire, because that's a big AAA game, and the character Fars was quite prominent. So I was recording that for about 2 years. Oh
wow.
Yeah. And it was my first time doing it was little things like, all of a sudden I can't use my face, and I used to be able to sorry, it's my dog.
Never apologize for a dog ever.
I used to be able to like convey whatever I wanted to convey through silence, and a look, and now that's gone. Okay, so how do I do that vocally? And then and again, so it kind of keeps changing from job to job, and I've also dabbled in a few years back, like PCAP, mocap. And that again is another one where like you're cast as an actor because they've seen you in film and TV. You even audition like a film or a television show, and then you've got the mocap suit on, and again, there's no school. You just sort of figure it out and like rely on your instincts.
So it's sort of like a thing the way you're relying on the other people you're working with, obviously, but like also sort of your instincts that have sort of been trained, I suppose, in one field. And it's like, how do I sort of adapt that?
Yeah. I mean, there's something programmed in me, which is I know when it feels good.
Yep.
So I know when a line of dialogue feels right or it feels connected, and or when that scene works. So I just kind of like throw things against the wall, hoping, and then eventually
Yeah.
when I know it feels good, I'm like, okay, cool. I think that gauge will see me through this performance too, even though it's new to me or it's a new medium.
I think that's an amazing. It's really inspiring. I think as a thing to sort of actually like one to sort of say, well, I didn't know how to do it, and then I just tried, but also to actually just sort of like make it work, and that's what's like. I think that's what's brilliant, and a lot of the characters you play. That's sort of, when you were saying about in Gears, like. There's a bit really early on when you sucker punch one of the robots, like really early on. It's like I'm sold. I'm sold on this character straight away. Like just how like the voice on it, like the voice acting on it was just superb.
Oh,
and
thank you, mate.
I think it just sort of comes across that there's a real craft to it, if you know what I mean. It's like kind of like a real gift to like how you crafted all these characters, and they're all different, and they're all, you can connect with them straight away, I think, and that's amazing.
Oh, thanks, man. I mean, I'm notorious for hiding my work. I don't know why. I think I'm mildly ashamed of my job. I think coming from honestly, I think coming from working class background, from the area I'm from, people that I grew up with, arts were a luxury, not considered real work, I think. And I've always been like into arts and crafts. I've always been into video games, movies was my first love, and I grew up in kind of like football culture and just like kind of like work, you do some work, get on with some work, we don't consider editing something. It's weird. It's like that's, it is, it was from my era anyway, it was like a working class thing. So I think, and then on top of that, I was crew for a long time. I was doing PA work, runner work, so carrying equipment, taking care of celebrity guests on a cooking show, getting their food and croissants and shit, and like, sorry, I don't mean to swear.
That's right.
And I think that kind of made me resent the talent as well and feel more crew. So when I started to work more as an actor, even though I was still working as an actor on the side, I think I started to feel like a me versus them with actors. So I will do a lot of work and put a lot of art into it and do the same arty farty things that everyone else does. Maybe to a certain degree. I mean, like before it was unpopular, I was very interested and found method acting very beneficial to me. Now I find that I'll try and do it as quietly on the sly as possible.
Got you.
Because it's like, I'm all right, mate. I just show up in it and I just do it. And so I kind of have that attitude. I heard an interview of a showrunner I just worked with on a series, and they asked her about my process, and she was like, "We don't know." He doesn't talk about it. He just shows up and does it. And I kind of was super proud. I was like, "Oh, it's working." So yeah,
you created this mystique now that you can
exactly.
You can just bowl up. Is that going to backfire at some point? Someone's just going to like just phone up at like 5 minutes. Like, come on, bro, come on, and you're just going to go.
Yeah, I'm not that. Yeah, I don't just show up that quickly. I mean, it's we'll see what happens, but like, I'm sure. Look, I'm my own worst enemy, so I'm sure it will work against me somehow. I probably shortchange myself, so people probably think I'm less serious about the craft than I actually am. So, but again, like you spoke recently, you just spoke there about like characters being relatable and social media, and I don't know what I'm doing. There is no blueprint. Like when I got iZombie, which was 2014, it's 10 years ago now. Twitter was like a few years into its thing, and like, YouTube was there, but not what it is now. And like actors having podcasts and like the levels of accessibility. And there was a time where I was tweeting quite I would say, anti what my colleagues were like. Like
Yeah.
I was a troll. And I'm not saying I was doing it early, but I was just doing it because it was authentic to me,
Yeah.
to troll fans, to like just be a little bit edgy and say dumb stuff. And then a few years later, and I remember people saying to me at the time, like, you're on the CW, you can't say that. And I was like, don't care. And not long afterwards, I had noticed that companies started to do that, like Wendy's and like other social media accounts started to troll their own fan base because it looked authentic rather than just industry
corporate
PR corporate. Exactly. So there is no blueprint to any of it. You just sort of So I don't like I said, I don't know if like I'm short changing myself. I don't know if I'm cutting myself out of future work, or people are like, oh, I want an actor, not someone's mate. Because I think I do that. I think I come across to people like the message I get sent a lot is like, I get a lot of dudes that are like, hey, look, I'm in London. Do you want to go for a pint? And I always thought that was weird. I'm like, what? No, why would I want to go for a pint with someone I don't know? That's crazy. But I understood it a little bit because it's like, oh, they're just like, on the off chance, why not? Like, he seems like a lad, and in an industry that I think, particularly now in 2024, I think celebrity culture is dying. I think we're less interested in the extravagances and pretentiousness of artists and actors. I think we're calling it out more. We're seeing maybe a peek behind the curtain, and we're like, oh, we don't care about them as much as we used to. And I can see a lot of bigger actors are having to be more relatable, and that's why you're seeing content like, let's see them eat snacks, and let's see them eat some chicken wings, and let's what are they like, in a car singing with someone, like all of that sort of stuff is a desperate.
It's sort of a very artificial way of doing it. Whereas I think you probably are doing yourself down a bit. I think that's the thing that's lovely about this is where you tell me it is all, actually, no surprise, Dan, it is all lies. It is all orchestrated by like your corporate overlord somewhere. But there is that authenticity to you, in that you post up like, oh, I've got this new watch that I really love, and I've got this new like Warhammer thing that I'm painting on and stuff like that. And I think in the same sort of way as you like spent that sort of length of time, like sort of online, you kind of can smell that authenticity, or like not, if you see what I mean, from someone. Mm-hmm. And I think you can see your genuine excitement and frustrations and stuff like that on what you're posting up about. It's not like, it doesn't feel like it's orchestrated or like planned. It does. I think that's the thing that is lovely about it, is it's from in here. And that makes a big difference with it. And I think that's probably why you're getting so many invites. You've probably got you scrolling through, like, I've just got this image of you scrolling through like thousands of invites to, do you want to come to the pub? Do you want to come to the pub? Fancy a pint?
I mean, it's like, again, the watches and all of that. Like, that's the thing. Like, I can't help it. I try to change constantly and go, no, you are. I quit Twitter a while back, and I don't think anyone expected me to just up and delete something that I found quite a good engagement on, right, and a good audience. I'm constantly figuring out ways to grow up and move on and protect myself, and like, because the problem is if you're trying to be authentic, here's the deal, right? I do not have an ounce of me that thinks that just because I've been on TV a couple of times that I'm better than anyone. I never have. It's just a job. The things that it affords me, the things that I love about my job, I get to meet my heroes. I get to geek out and go, oh my God, this is the guy I memorized their scene when I was 7 years old, right? And now they're my colleague. That's number one. I love it. I get to work with people like Mike Flanagan, who I still pinch myself. I'm very close to one of the greatest horror directors of our generation right now, and he's like writing new stuff for me and calling me up and want to read this and fighting for me. Those are the things I value.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, and on top of that, you get lump sums, and if you're doing well, you have disposable income, which means I get to buy statues of cool stuff. I can buy Warhammer figures. I'll buy a nice watch now and again. That's it. But it doesn't make me feel like I'm better than anyone. I don't walk into a restaurant expecting top service. I don't expect to be recognized. I don't expect a bouncer at a club to let me in because I was in blind manner. None of that stuff matters to me. So because there's no buffer for me, when a follower, even an anonymous follower insults me, I don't see it as part of the game, part of the rabble. I'm better than this. I always see it as an equal.
Yeah.
Because I let it all in. So I take people's complaints to heart. I take if one person out of 500 didn't like my joke, that one person is just as important to me as the 499 people. So my emotions get hurt. That's why I think my presence on social media has been not up and down, but like has been shades of grey, because everything comes from the same place, which is just like, oh, it is me. It's not a PR person. So like when someone's like, didn't like your performance, to me, that one is just as valuable as the one that did. And so I have to protect myself, I have to protect myself from the fact that I'm always treating everyone as an equal when I really shouldn't. Like I think the psychological, and I can understand why bigger celebrities, people who are far more well known, I mean, I'm rarely get recognized, like people with larger followings have to go, there's a switch you have to flick and you have to go, done, enough. I don't want any part of it. You're all the same background noise, because I can't let it all in. Maybe that will happen one day, I don't know.
Or you can just go for the pint with everyone.
Or you could do that, for sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, I know this is a really difficult one, and people sort of sometimes ask me, like, sort of like stuff that I've worked on, which one is your favourite? But have you got a favourite role that you've had so far, like across the whole spectrum?
Yeah, I do. And it's not to say that the others aren't as good, or I feel differently about the people I worked with. It's just the significance of it. And it will always be iZombie. Nothing's going to beat your first job, love, show, the thing that, prior to that, I was, the same year I did iZombie, I was background of about 3 commercials.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't even the lead of the commercials. I was just in the background. One was like whiskey, one was like BT Sport, and a couple $100. And I did them because I had no money to buy my family Christmas presents. And I begged my manager, begged my agent at the time. I was like, can you just do some extra work? Because I wasn't getting anywhere. And then they still didn't pay me for 6 months. So it was pointless anyway. But I did that in the exact same 6 months as iZombie. So I went from.
So that was quite a roller coaster year then.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like I always felt, again, like going to drama school, you're around, like I was 18 at drama school, and I was from an area in northwest London, not really known for acts. Oh, actually it is, funny enough. I'm from the same area as Riz Ahmed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it is known for actors, I guess. But yeah, like when I was at that drama school, I definitely didn't feel like I fit in, which is a good thing, because I was 18 and the class had people in their late 30s. So as an 18-year-old, your classmates range genders, sexuality, and age right across the spectrum. And as an 18-year-old, spending every day with that group was a massive, massive game changer for me. And I learned things about people and socializing that I never prescribed to the idea that once we had got into school, I noticed that like my classmates were playing 2 characters. They were who they were, playing an actor, playing the part. And I would always talk about this. There's this middle part
Got you.
that you don't need. You don't need to play an actor. The job you are. It doesn't matter if you're, right? You could be Kenneth Branagh or you could be Ray Winston. You're an actor. Both are actors, and Ray Winston doesn't have to behave like Kenneth Branagh before he plays a character. It's a layer on a layer. and I've always maintained that. And but so I always said, no matter what, I'm not going to change. I'm still me. I'm still going to like rock up to and eat McDonald's and KFC at the theater when everyone's eating sushi, and I'm going to be talking about films and games while everyone's talking about whatever. We're all actors. We're all equal. But that's all well and good. But like when you go 10 years without really so much as a line of dialogue, it's hard to maintain that level of confidence. And iZombie was the legitimized that. Then for the first time in 10 years, I was like, what do you do? I'm an actor.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay.
Well, that must have been such a feeling to be able to say that.
Right? To be able to be like, no, my parents, when you know, when they would say to people, you know, socializing, like, what does your son do? They go, you know, they said it, they were proud of me, but like when people ask what has he done, and they're like, have you seen, you know, Subway commercial? Like that was the extent
it's a different thing, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So to go from that to like, oh, he's one of the main characters or leads of iZombie, and he's in America or whatever, like that, and it kicked off everything.
That's amazing.
It kicked off getting the right team. It kicked off all of the kind of infrastructure that allowed me to then work on projects like Midnight Mass and Bolt Gun, all of it that starts with iZombie. So it has to be that. I can't pick anything other than the one that kicked it all off.
I think that's a bloody hell. That's a really lovely reason to pick something, and it's, you know, again, like really inspiring. That's the not to give up, because obviously that's a long time to, like, you know, get knocked back when you know that's what you want to do, and you know you've got that in you to do that drive as well to do that, and then, you know, that must be amazing. What a feeling. That must be absolutely incredible. So skip forward to now and potential future. Yeah. So Hollywood comes a call in and they say, Rahul, we want to make your dream video game adaptation on the big screen, and we want you creative control. You've got creative control of it. You can be the lead. You don't have to be the lead. You could, if you want, you can. What game are you turning into a film, and who would you play in that film?
Okay. So this is a bit of a cheat code. I would have movies based on the Dark Forces series.
Yeah.
I would retcon that Kyle Katarn stole the Death Star plans, which is controversial because I know Rogue One is fantastic and people love, but this exists in its own universe. And I would go play through the story of Dark Forces, Jedi Knight Outcast, and I would probably fight pretty hard to play Kyle Katarn.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that. I could absolutely see that. Also, because you've been posting up about that, and that's one of the games that sort of got me back into gaming. Sort of like from like when it first came out in whenever that was. So it was like
495.
It was like Mega Drive sort of games, and then it went into like there was like a bit of a wilderness years, and then like PC gaming after that, and that was like when I saw that coming back out, and I saw you playing it. I was like, oh, I really should.
You talking about the remaster that Night Dive did?
Yeah, I haven't played it. Yeah, I need to play it. That's the thing. I've got to play it.
It won't get enough attention, and it absolutely should. Unfortunately, things like the Battlefront collection will, because of controversy. But Night Dive just dropped, like, you know, for a few bucks. They went in and they did the perfect remaster, which is like the heart and soul still there. It feels like you're playing something for the first time. It's really weird because when you're younger, like Doom 93 is one of my favorite games, and like as far as I'm concerned, when I played it, it was the most realistic thing I'd ever seen in my life. Right? Obviously, it's not. Times have changed, but at the time it was. And Dark Forces was the same. In fact, I think Dark Forces in some ways looked a lot better. You know, just that year when they had the Jedi Knight engine. And what Night Dive have done, which I love, is it's like it looks like how I remember it, even though I know it's not. Because the way they've done the remaster, it's like, of course it looked this good. this is
So
how I
like
felt.
rose tinted kind of view.
Yeah. So it's and they redid the cut scenes and stuff, and
amazing.
It was like it's a buffer game for me. I'm as insert coin would know. I'm a big Yakuza fan. And I got a lot of Yakuza drip from insert coin. And I'm currently
most welcome.
I'm currently smashing through Yakuza. Where am I? Between 4 and 5. So I finished 4 and I'm going on to 5. And 5 is known as one of the longest ones. And because I did 2, 3, 4 back to back, which is a lot, I wanted a bit of a buffer.
Yep.
And I'm also off filming for a bit, so I didn't want to like Final Fantasy Rebirth was my next game. I'm a massive Final Fantasy fan, but I knew I'd need to fly, and I was like, don't start, because there'll be like a couple of weeks gap and then you'll fall out of rhythm. And and then it just so happened that the game I was super excited about, Dark Forces, just dropped, and I was like, it's about 8 hours.
It's meant to be, right? It's like that.
So that's what I did. So I was living in Dark Forces for a week, and yeah, like I said, I sadly, it's the type of title that probably not too many people will be able to play or will play, even though it's available on all consoles and PC. But it's one of my favorite remasters in a very long time.
Well, I think that's a great choice of if Hollywood ever does see this. Mr. Hollywood on the phone, not Paul Hollywood. That'd be weird. But actually, the entity of Hollywood.
Sure.
That's the.
It'll never happen.
For Kyle Katarn, that's it. It's signed. It's sealed. It's going to happen.
I had a buddy. I don't know if I should say this, but I had a buddy who was writing on Star Wars, and there's one of the more beloved Star Wars series that they have right now. And he was like, hey, I'm writing this thing and I can see you playing this guy. And I wrote, is it Kyle Katarn? And he went, no, they're not brilliant. And I went, then I don't care.
That's, to be fair.
Never heard back.
The thing is I think there's people of a sort of like, there's a slot of like gamers of between a few ages, like a run of ages sort of thing.
Yeah.
That Kyle Katarn is like the man. It's like the same as like people who saw like Han Solo when Star Wars first came out.
Sure,
Kyle Katarn is that kind of that same thing of like, oh bloody hell, he's really cool. He's really cool. And then in the second game with the lightsaber,
of course, and then into Outcast, which was just just a great game all round. Anyway, I mean, they all were pretty damn good anyway. But like, it's crazy. I think when the EU was scrapped, which makes sense, I understand. But when the EU was scrapped, I think that was the one. I mean, I read a ton of EU books as a kid. I played a lot of the games. I understand that they like sort of said, well, EU scrapped, but like Knights of the Old Republic still counts. Sometimes it counts. Sometimes but it makes sense, right? It's like we'll pick what we want
to make it as clean as possible.
Yeah. That was the one I was like, and it's weird because who cares? Like, it's not your canon. Cool, it's my canon. Like, your canon and my canon are different, and it's no one's business, right? Like, I'm a little bit more stricter about my relationship to Star Wars. My relationship to Star Wars is that everything that happened pre-2013 is canon, and this is now not canon. That's just the way I see it in my head, because I put countless hours as a kid reading these books.
That's the thing when you're growing up with it as well, isn't it? If you're growing up with it, it's kind of like burnt into your psyche of like, because it's like, I really enjoyed Rogue One.
Mm-hmm. Same. It was my favorite.
It was but then you sort of like you're all the time you're watching, it's like, I'm sure Kyle Katarn took this. Yeah, Kyle Katarn definitely did. He sorted this out. He survived.
And he did it. And he did it in the first level. It's like the tutorial level.
That was just a tutorial. We just did it, without even busting sweat. He was just like, it's fine.
Yeah, it's like I said. So for me, like, Han and Leia had twins, Jaden and Jason, and they or Jaina, sorry, and a little third kid called Anakin, and all of that stuff that I grew up loving and reading is that's
it's locked in.
It's locked in, yeah. So
when Hollywood does come around, you're Kyle Katarn, everything gets scrapped, goes back to, we just uncanon the last 11 years and re-canon the EU.
I think
it's
that might
fine.
be
It's
a
perfect.
big problem for the amusement park, because I think it's all based on.
They'll sort it out. That's someone else's problem, right? That's not that. We don't worry. We just think in big picture.
Yeah, we don't have to. Yeah, we don't have to worry about the details.
We don't have to worry about that bit. So we're going to finish up with a few sort of auto-fire questions, but they're not. You don't have to do them quickly. You can take your time at your leisure. And we're quite flexy on some of these rules.
Okay.
You don't have to. You don't have to like stick to them. I'll see if we allow it or not.
Okay.
So, what is your first video game memory?
Wow. It would be playing. God, my dad's Amstrad.
Oh, really?
It's a real throwback. Yeah, when I was like 3 years old, he had like these cassette tapes you load, and it was like, I remember the names of some of them, Rolling on the Ropes, and there was a Fruit Machine one, and you'd load them up, take about 25 minutes, you come back to it. And I was like 2 or 3, and like I got into it real early.
Oh, cool.
Before my birthday, I finally got a Super Nintendo. So that would be my first video game memory.
That's a cool one, though. Those tapes were a nightmare. I remember those. Bloody hell. And like modem noises. Yeah.
You'd have to listen to it.
Yeah. No, they were great. And then it wouldn't load, and then you'd have to rewind it and have the joyous noise again. And so what's your favourite game of all time?
I have there's a top 5. I could do 4.
That's okay. We'll allow it.
Okay, top of my head. GoldenEye. GoldenEye has to be there.
Nice.
GoldenEye has to be there. Red Dead series can take up 1 slot. I'm just saying Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
It's taking up good. 1. Ocarina of Time has to be there. It's my first love of RPG. I'm gonna quickly slam in Arkham Asylum.
Nice.
And Doom 93.
Nice.
I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to overthink because I'll change things around.
I think I get the impression you're quite like me, where it's like on one day it'd be that, and then another. There might be a couple that stay there or thereabouts, but like on a particular day, you might be like, no, actually.
But why did I say Arkham Asylum? I'm actually feeling, and then Street Fighter 2, or I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to overthink it. That's just what came to my head.
I think that's a solid set of choices, to be honest. So you did mention some already, but what games are you most looking forward to that are coming up?
Coming up. What is coming up? So I already got my Dark Forces remaster. Obviously, it's already come out, but I haven't played it, so it's coming up to me. Would be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the Elden Ring DLC.
Oh,
I don't
amazing.
know why, because I still haven't finished my Elden Ring. So I don't know why I'm excited for extra content that I can't get to.
That destroys you slowly. That's the same as me. I managed. It's the only From game that I've ever got on with. I finished it. I platinumed it, and I was coached by loads of different friends from across the industry. It was like I've managed to sort of like they sort of took me under their wing. It's like I don't know what I'm doing. It's like took me under their wing sort of thing. And then I'm like, I don't know if I'm looking forward to this or not.
Right, because it's back into the fire.
This?
Yeah, that's funny you should say that, because I think it's the only From game that I've struggled with was Elden Ring.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I finished Demon Souls. I finished Dark Souls trilogy. I love Sekiro. I love Bloodborne. I need to finish Bloodborne actually, but Elden Ring was the one I struggled with. I struggled going. I kind of liked more of a linear. One. I found myself a bit aimless.
There was no way of knowing where to go, and it was like, even the people who were like sort of coaching me were like, not sure. Have a look at this website and sort of go through like 10 pages of lore, and then it goes, go here. It's like, okay. And then you go there, it's like, next.
Yeah.
To the website again.
Yeah. It was, I mean, I it's a great departure for them, and I appreciate that game a lot. I take the blame, not the game. Like, lifestyle can always affect how you consume something. And Elden Ring came out whilst I was shooting Fall of the House of Usher
Oh, wow.
in Canada. Yeah. So they had sent one of, like, I think they'd sent out to like 60 people, 50 people. I don't know. I don't know what the number is. One of their swords.
Oh,
And
right.
they had it delivered to my hotel room in Canada. I remember this box, like with the concierge. And I was like, what was that? And then I opened it. It was a broadsword with like tarnished written on it. I was like, what the hell? But I thought they were just sending me like a copy of the game.
It's a thing to explain to housekeeping, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it was just there on the couch like for 2 months. But that was a real tough time to have consistency, because that show was tough to film for various reasons. There were reshuffles of cast, and we were flying back. And I was flying weekly from Canada to America, like back to Los Angeles, while trying to play Elden Ring. That's not the game. Yeah, that's not the game that you like. You
can't just pick it up.
Exactly. And so I think that had more of an effect on me than the actual game itself. I think I would have got on with it great if I was like not that kind of crazy, jumping between a hotel in LA and back forth, and then dealing with the character and dealing with drama and stuff like that. Like, so it's on the list. I think I'll pick it back up closer to DLC time. But I just realized what it is. It's Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2 this year is what I'm super hyped about. Yeah.
Amazing. What is your go-to gaming snack? So you can pause. We've had this before. You can pause the game to have something. You don't have to eat it while you're controlling something.
Is a drink a snack?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Let's say yes.
Tea. Yeah, a cup of tea
with biscuits.
Oh yeah, but maybe not so much in America because I don't get the biscuits I want. But like, I
what biscuits do you want?
Well, digestives. You have to have a chocolate digestive. With
tea.
But I live in America, so I do have digestives sometimes. But like, you usually just get them what's at the supermarket. So like, it's Oreos and tea. Oreos are lovely, but they don't hit like a chocolate digestive. But a
biscuit needs to be made in Britain, right? That's
I think so.
The tea combo. It's got to be that kind of classic.
Yeah, and the I'm a dipper or a dunker, whatever.
Yeah.
And the chocolate digestive, one concise quick dip melts the thinnest layer of that chocolate.
Yeah,
and it's just perfect. I mean, tea does feel like a cheat. So if it's not tea, I would also say Flamin' Hot Cheetos. That's my American.
Nice.
So all my PlayStation controllers, all my PlayStation controllers are orange because there's just Cheeto dust everywhere. It's disgusting.
Final question: who is, in your opinion, the best dressed video game character?
Ooh. Best dressed video game character. That's a great Tifa.
Nice.
Tifa.
Yeah.
There's nothing else you can say to that.
No, that's it. That's it. That's the conversation ends. That's it. Done. I think that's amazing answers to those AUTOFIRE questions. I think you've set the new bar. That's it. Now.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
So what's next for Rahul Kohli? Where can we see you next? What have you got planned? What have your PR team got planned for your socials? What's going on next?
So I just done obviously Usher, which had come out a few months back. I was lucky enough to work with Mike again, and worked on a movie called The Life of Chuck, which is Mike's next film. It's got an incredible cast, and it's from like a short story novella type from Stephen King.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's awesome. So I got to do that in Alabama last year. Yeah, and then can't talk about that. Some of it's NDA'd, so I'm trying to figure out what's not.
No,
to be fair,
tricky.
actually, this is the first time I'd say in a decent while that like I have a bit of a break in projects,
Yeah.
which I think most of the industry does. I had shot 2 shows back to back in 2022, which was The Fall of the House of Usher and Death and Other Details. And
Yeah.
I had 2 weeks off in between, and
Oh, wow.
and then and then so that was 12 months basically on the road, and then I got back like Christmas 2022, and by the time I started the new year, there were some offers and jobs and things, and I did not want to go back on set. I couldn't. I just I had enough, and I wanted to really spend time at home, and I wanted to like paint, just be with just be here, be with my partner, be with the dog, and so I told my team I wanted a hiatus, like 3-4 months, and they were like, "Cool." So I took very few meetings, and then the strikes happened. So I took a break on top of a strike.
Yeah.
So I didn't act, so to speak, until like October when we got the waiver to do Mike's movie. So that gap will result in a bit of a kind of lull.
A lull.
Yeah, I'm not concerned. It was by design, except the strike, obviously. But it's the first time I feel like I've been on other people's trains.
Yep.
Like iZombie, once I got on board, I was at the mercy of how many seasons they needed. And so my 5 years was their choice, not mine. And I loved that show. I wanted to be on it for as long as possible. But every year was a surprise if we were even going to come back. And once that was over, my first, I was in my first period of, okay, I'm off that train. What do I do? And within 3-4 months, I auditioned for The Haunting of Bly Manor. And I've been on Flanagan's train, so to speak. And like every time I work with Mike, he wants me on the next gig. So this is my first sort of like, whoa, okay, what's out there? Where do I want to go? What do I want to do? So I'm off to go shoot a movie tomorrow.
Amazing.
Yeah, super excited for that. Obviously, I can't say, but it's a big one. So I'm off to.
So keep them peeled.
Yeah. But again, it's like everyone, I think film and TV have become more and more like the games industry, particularly with streaming. I've noticed like they don't. We used to share cast photos. There would be announcements, whatever you were working on. It used to be very open. And now, like even like an unknown TV series that's not based on an IP will like be like, please do not tell anyone that you're on it. No one cares. Why?
No one,
yeah, because everyone wants control now. So they're like, well, we'll announce when we're ready, and we'll say what this is. Like I remember on Death and Other Details, even they were like, they didn't want character names out, and I was like, why will anyone give a shit? Why? This isn't. We're not doing Star Wars, and people will find out that's character is this character, and he's appearing. These are new characters. What we're doing, but it's become a lot more like the games industry, which is like, shut up,
really locked down.
When we're ready, we're ready. So you look mad unemployed for a long period of time,
and then everywhere you go for, it's like feast and famine, right? You go from like not being anywhere, and then it's like almost exhausting, just like you telling people, I'm on this as well.
I don't really get to publicize it because of the strikes. But the Fall of the House of Usher, obviously we would have done a bigger, massive press tour we had planned. But obviously we didn't for the strikes. But it's rare to be a series regular in 2 series for 2 different streaming services within 2 months of each other.
Yeah.
Right. And I did that. But like, it doesn't feel like anything because like one, it's streaming and it just sort of just like farts its way out into the internet, and you go, okay, and people care for like 12 hours until they binge it or whatever. But like, also that period of time that it took for me to do all of that, I wasn't allowed to talk about either. And then when I was allowed to talk about it, I wasn't allowed by my union. So like, when that happens, you're like, no one really realizes that you just worked a ton and you just haven't, you know what I mean? And now I'm not going to go back and start like trying to retroactively get people to be like, hey, do you remember in October when this show came out? I don't care. I'm not doing it. So like, anyway, yeah, you look, you look mad unemployed.
But we know you're not. You've been really busy.
I think so.
And on a personal note, keeping me really entertained with pictures of watches and Warhammer. That's I just feel that's you've done that for me. That's really lovely. We have to go for a pint. I'll send you the message.
Sure.
No, it's I think what you're doing is amazing, and I think that's why people love what you do and love following you and get what you're all about, I think.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being part of the show, and thank you for coming along and telling us all about everything you've been up to, and also your history of games as well. And thank you for watching. We'll have more split screen soon. Keep them peeled and watch this outro about Insert Coin, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.
Split Screen is brought to you by Insert Coin. Official, exclusive, limited. Insert Coin have been shipping video game clothing worldwide since 2010, so represent your favourite games today at www.insertcoinclothing.com.